Okay, fire away.
Mask removed.
Mask removed.
Very nice.
The authentic me. Now you've got it.
Amazing. Should we introduce ourselves?
Let's do that. I'm sure they'll be interested to know who we are. Please feel free.
Age before BB.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what.
So, I am Sarah Morgan. I'm the founder at Lukiat Coaching. After 25 years in corporate, working a range of roles through technology operations, customer service, I took the plunge at the beginning of this year, 2020, just before the pandemic, to set up my own coaching and consulting businesses. That's me.
Thank you. I'm Mark Yearby. I'm a founder of Mark One Limited, a consultancy, coaching and training organisation. Again, set up at about the same time that Sarah did, beginning of 2020. Spent many years in the corporate world. I figured there was more value I could add, helping businesses such as yours get back on their feet and ready to go. So
we thought we'd talk today a little around the sense of authenticity at work and how that interplays with imposter syndrome as well. So, hence the joke at the beginning about you and your mask. And it's been really interesting talking with clients at the moment about not wearing a mask when you have to wear a mask, choosing your mask. And we talked the other day as well about how that feeling the need to wear a mask at work is just utterly exhausting.
it is tiring. I'm sure you've been in a position as well, but certainly from my time in the corporate world, as time went on, I certainly felt like I had a veneer almost of this professional persona, the person that I felt other people needed to see, and gradually over time it became so far removed from the person I was inside, and about a year ago I kind of let that inside person free. Actually, it was very local to me. It was a video shoot, a rock music video shoot, where we all had to dress up as clowns, but where we could just be ourselves and just act silly, and it was liberating. And just to do something different. And that's not to suggest I acted the clown at work all the time, of course, but it got me thinking that who is Mark Yearby and what does he like to do, and what is he interested in? And it's almost like I've kind of buried my real personality deep inside somewhere, and these corporate veneer that just got thicker and thicker, like a bark on a tree trunk almost. And it's been nice to kind of strip away those layers. So what you see now is kind of who I am, warts and all, and we all hear people saying, if you don't like me and all that sort of stuff. Well, that's true. That's kind of I am who I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin, and it's liberating.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? Sure.
So very similar in some ways. So I've always, the 16 personalities thing, I'm the entertainer, and one of my strengths is that I use humour to diffuse situations.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of Hogan's Dark Sides, but it's about how when you're very stressed, you can overplay your strengths so they can become a weakness. And I had a few occasions where work was incredibly stressful. We had a situation a while ago at an energy provider where they dropped their prices. And rather than taking on 40,000 people in a week, they took on 120,000 in about 10 days. And it was incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
So I was running around being the fool, keeping everyone's spirits up, and having to work really hard to allow that me to shine through. And I've got that imposter syndrome thing then going, but you're a senior person, you're a senior executive in this organisation, you should not be playing the fool with your team.
Yeah.
You should be get the job done, boys and girls, it should be, and it's that, the mask that we wear to pretend to be the grown-ups, to pretend to be the corporate finished article, that there's an expectation that society has on us, though. And it's all of our own making.
Oh, absolutely. I got accused, get accused is probably the wrong word, I got some feedback from a company that I worked at before that I was considered to be very aloof, because I was very much stood back from what was going on. I'd take a high level helicopter view, and yeah, there'd be a bit of laughing joke, but only with certain people. But I would never allow my team to see the emotional side of me. And what I didn't realise was, from a team dynamic point of view, that was actually incredibly damaging, because they saw me as this person who was just emotionally distant, and and it's only when somebody mentioned that, I was like, that is so far removed from me as a normal person. So how have I got myself in this position? So not only is it the negative side of Hogan's, but it's incredibly damaging as well for the team dynamic. And
absolutely,
you're right. We build this persona about who we should be and who people want to see. The reality is people just want to see you.
Yeah.
Warts and all. Not suggesting you have warts, because that'd be weird. But people just want to see you, warts and all.
Exactly that. And I think the more genuine and authentic we can be, the less expectation we put on ourselves to be and act in a certain way. The more value we bring, but we're not wasting energy.
Yeah.
Like you said, having that veneer, we're not wasting energy second guessing ourselves and tying ourselves up in that sense of imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
As well,
but do you also find that the whole imposter syndrome thing, that when things go badly, then you really punish yourself for failing? I mean, I personally do. If I make a mistake and do something wrong, there is no worse critic I have than myself. My God, I give myself such a hard time.
Yeah.
Far more than I should, probably. But do you find that once you've allowed that veneer to come down, that mask to drop, you're actually a lot more forgiving of yourself?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I've not put the two together, because I've done too much work myself.
Okay.
But I make a really conscious effort to listen to that inner dialogue and to come up with a counterpoint. So if my inner dialogue is saying, you're not professional enough, or you did a bad job of that because you didn't do X, Y, and Z, I'll make a really conscious effort to recognise that and to turn it into, that was a really interesting lesson.
Yeah.
This is what you've learned from it, and this is what you'll be able to do better next time. And I probably went through the process of implementing that at the same time as I went through the process of dropping the mask and being more authentic. So I'm not sure which is attributable to which, but I think that they're really linked in terms of that removing the power that your inner dialogue can have over you when you're being hard on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think most people suffer from imposter syndrome, and the ones that don't are probably the ones that should.
Yeah, overconfidence.
Yeah, but I think most of us are our worst critics.
Sure.
For sure. And for me, it's always about finding out what you can learn from it and what you can do better next time. And it's just reminding myself of that every time.
I mean, from your point of view, from the people you've coached, because your type of coaching is different from mine. Yours is probably the more human and holistic side of it, whereas mine's possibly more business related. Do you find any differences in regards to age or gender, in terms of how people respond to imposter syndrome, or how acutely they feel it?
It's been a really interesting journey for me this year, because I would have said, through my coaching and mentoring of people within the workplace, that it tended to impact women more. Maybe it's just the type of people that are coming and engaging in coaching services. But I've been really surprised by the depth of imposter syndrome and the linkage with imposter syndrome and authenticity at work. Probably 70% of my clients are men, not women.
Okay.
Which has really surprised me, because I would not have assumed that when I set up. I kind of presumed that 80% of the people who'd want my services would be women.
I think a lot of people probably also make that assumption. Do you think sorry to jump in, but do you think it's good that guys are able to kind of now feel that they probably can, it's okay to allow themselves to feel like that and to seek help, whereas before, big boys don't cry and all of that, which that's a whole other.
And that is so toxic, that boys don't cry, they don't have these emotional feelings in the same way, stiff upper lip, one of the lads. So toxic and so damaging.
But it's prevalent though, isn't it?
Really. And I don't know whether it's because my background is technology and therefore I've always been in the minority as a woman, that I've got a way of engaging with and talking to men.
Yeah.
Because I've always worked in that type of more male-dominated environment.
That's a really good point.
But I think it's incredible that more men are finding the strength.
Yeah.
It does take strength to put the hand up and say, I am not okay and I want to get some assistance so that I can be better. So that I can do better at work, so I can be my whole self at work.
Yeah.
And that can only be a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of focus on mental health. I mean, we see it on LinkedIn all the time.
Yeah.
We recognise that obviously women have mental health issues as well. But I think that imposter syndrome is probably one of the more emotionally damaging because it affects people right to their core, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around imposter syndrome, and I think quite a damaging, do you just fake it till you make it mentality around it as well.
That's bad, isn't it?
It really is, because the thing is, fake it till you make it kind of can work at a lower level.
Yeah.
The more senior you get, you then look back through your career and say, well, I've been winging it the whole way and now I'm here, I don't deserve it. But actually, you totally do. But it's about unpicking how you got to where you got to and the brilliant skills and strengths that you bring to the job.
Yeah.
And recognising that you deserve it, not that you faked it to get there.
Sure. But do you feel that even when people do receive the positive feedback, such as you just mentioned, that actually you do deserve it, you are good at what you do you find that through your experience of coaching men and women that they believe that feedback, or do they look at it and go, they hear the words, but there's kind of that sense that you must be talking about something else, or you're seeing something that I don't recognise in myself.
So I think there's two parts to that. One, which is really scary for a lot of people, which is I am doing such a good job of faking it that I'm now on a pedestal.
Yeah.
So I've got even further to fall when you realise that actually I'm winging it.
Yeah.
So it can actually, giving somebody really positive feedback and really, but you're great, can have the opposite impact of what you're looking for, because they then end up even more anxious about letting you down as well as.
Yeah.
So that's half of it. I've never remembered the other.
Sorry, I'll put you on the spot.
No, that's absolutely fine.
I'm not sorry, actually.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
So then the other half of it is the disconnect between what somebody can absolutely know logically and what they truly believe deep down inside. So I was talking to someone literally just yesterday on this, and it's like, I know logically that I'm really good at my job, that I really add value, that people really rate me and believe that I can do it, and all of that logically. But as soon as I say that out loud, inside, I don't feel it, and that then gets my inner dialogue going, but you're a bit.
Yeah,
you've got those little gremlins on your shoulder.
God, yes, yeah.
So it comes back to what I was saying earlier then about recognising that dialogue and being able to speak back to it, to put it back in its box. And the more you can do that, the more it then becomes something that you can feel in your heart as well as knowing in your head.
Yeah, sure.
That disconnect between those two things can feel quite stressful, actually.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we've got a whole bunch of people watching us at the moment, or I hope so, otherwise we're just talking to a camera on a tripod, in which case that would just be weird. But
it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Will.
Absolutely, never a chore. So for the people who are watching and are taking the time out to have a look at this video, what advice would you give them to, if they do recognise they've got the feelings of imposter syndrome or any of the issues that we briefly touched on that? Aside from obviously get in touch and seek help, what could they do now? What would be like, I hate to use top threes, but what would you say to somebody now who thinks I could do this, help with this?
So firstly, I'd say think about the authenticity piece. So who is at the core of you? What are the key values that you really care about? And try just to bring a little bit of that into work every day, and just be a little braver every day, and just do a little bit more, and just let that mask drop.
Yeah.
And you can do that through tiny little baby steps. You don't have to suddenly tip up a work with blue hair and your top markers going, hey, this is me. It's not necessarily, but you can if you want.
I don't think I could do it.
You want blue hair.
I think I want blue hair. Phil, that's terrorist.
But oh, I'm sorry. So yeah, I think that's the first thing, because the more authentic you are at work, the less like an imposter you'll feel just naturally. The second thing is, when things go really, really well, be honest with yourself about what part you played in that. So a lot of people with imposter syndrome are very good at saying, when it goes badly, it's all on me, like you said before. But when it goes well, it's because of the team.
Yeah.
So really be honest with yourself about the part that you played. And even if to begin with you can only recognise a little, tiny little nugget, just hang on to that and remember that you did that.
Hold on to your nuggets, people.
And then the third one is, I've said a couple of times around the talking back to you in a gremlins. It's when you've got that voice in your head that's saying, but you can't do it because of this reason, you've never done it before, who do you think you are? Find words that are yours, that really resonate for you, that become a bit of a mantra and affirmation. You know, I'm not necessarily advocating the Louise Hay, stand in front of a mirror and go, I am amazing and abundance comes to me, because that's just not for everyone.
Could you do that again, just for the...
No. And basically, if it's just meaningless words...
You've got to believe it, haven't you?
Exactly. So if you can find something, so say your inner gremlin is telling you, you can't do it, you've never done it before, who do you think you are? You can turn that into a positive affirmation, which is, I may not have done this before, but I've got all of the skills that brought me to this point, and I'm going to give it a damn good try, and I'm going to learn my lessons along the way. And that's a really positive statement, and it will boost your energy.
Yeah.
So then write that down, and every time you hear your little gremlin going, me, me, me,
don't feed the gremlin.
Yeah, exactly. Give him a elbow and use your affirmation to bring yourself back into the right headspace. They'd be the three things that I would suggest. And obviously, you know, whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's somebody else, but find somebody to work with, because coaches can ask you questions that you wouldn't think of asking yourself and unlock an understanding that you might not have recognised. And we hold you toes to the fire and hold you accountable for doing the work as well.
I definitely hold toes to the fire.
You'll get the work done faster working with somebody.
Yeah, and they can provide you with that accountability, can't they? You know,
Exactly.
we won't necessarily fix your problem, but we will help you fix the problem. That's where coaches come into it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure as always.